The moment someone walks away from your life, your instinct is almost automatic. You want to explain. You want closure. You want them to understand what they lost. But here's the hard truth most people never learn. The more you try to be understood, the less you are respected. Stoicism teaches something radically different. Power is not found in chasing, proving, or begging. Power is found in silence backed by self-mastery. When you stop explaining, when you stop reacting, when you stop offering access to your emotions, something shifts. Not in them, in you. And paradoxically, that is when people begin to feel the weight of losing you. In this video, you'll learn 7 silent Stoic moves that require no arguments, no revenge, and no words. Moves that rebuild your dignity, your value, and your inner authority. Stay until the end. And if this resonates, comment below. My silence is my power. 1. Silent move. Disappear without drama. When someone walks away from you, your first instinct is rarely silence. It's movement. You want to talk. You want to clarify. You want to ask why. Your mind tells you, if I just say the right thing, they'll understand. So you send one more message, then another. Then a long paragraph explaining your intentions, your pain, your worth. And without realizing it, you hand away the last thing you still had, your leverage. Stoicism teaches a brutal but liberating truth. Not everyone deserves access to you, and not every ending needs an explanation. Disappearing without drama is not avoidance, it is not weakness, it is self-respect in motion. Drama keeps you emotionally available. Silence withdraws your energy. Think about this carefully. When you react loudly, argue, or demand answers, you are still orbiting them. Your attention is still feeding the connection, and as long as they feel your emotional presence, they don't truly feel your absence. But the moment you stop explaining, the moment you stop checking their stories, the moment you stop accidentally staying visible, a vacuum forms. And humans are deeply uncomfortable with silence that they didn't control. This is where regret begins. Not because you punished them, not because you tried to make them feel bad, but because you removed the reassurance that they still mattered more than your dignity. Stoics understood this centuries ago. They believed that emotional discipline is power precisely because it is quiet. When you disappear without drama, 3 things happen simultaneously. First, you reclaim your nervous system. No more emotional spikes. No more waiting for replies. No more rereading old conversations. Second, you reset the power dynamic. You are no longer the one seeking resolution. You become the one who chose peace. And third, and this is the part most people underestimate, you force the other person to sit alone with the consequences of their decision. Silence removes the buffer. No anger to deflect onto you, no argument to justify themselves, no emotional noise to drown out their thoughts. Just absence. And absence speaks fluently. This doesn't mean you vanish impulsively or bitterly. There is no announcement. No, this is my last message. No dramatic goodbye. You simply stop offering yourself where you are no longer chosen. That is Stoic restraint. It's important to understand this clearly. You are not disappearing to be missed. You're disappearing because self-respect requires distance from disrespect. If they regret losing you later, that's a side effect, not the goal. The goal is alignment. Alignment between your values and your actions. Alignment between your dignity and your behavior. And here is the silent rule that governs this move. The more calmly you leave, the louder your absence becomes. So here's your first practice. For the next 7 days, do nothing dramatic. No messages, no reactions, no checking in, not as a tactic, as a boundary. Tell yourself this: I don't need to be understood to move forward. Because the truth is simple. People don't regret losing someone who begged to stay. They regret losing someone who walked away quietly and never looked back. 2. Silent move. Number 2. Upgrade your life. Quietly. Most people make the same mistake after being left behind. They try to show they're doing better. They post more. They smile louder. They broadcast progress with a hidden message. Look what you lost. Stoicism rejects this entirely. Because the need to be seen winning is still a form of dependence. True power doesn't announce itself. It compounds in silence. Upgrading your life quietly is not about proving anything to anyone. It's about rebuilding yourself without turning growth into a performance. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When your improvement is loud, it's usually fragile. When it's quiet, it's dangerous. Stoics believed that discipline is most effective when it's invisible. No applause, no validation, just daily alignment between intention and action. This silent move has 3 dimensions. First, the body. You don't transform your body to be admired. You do it to restore self-command. Training when no one is watching, eating with restraint when comfort is available, sleeping on time instead of scrolling for distraction. Your posture changes before your appearance does, and posture is felt long before it's seen. Second, your work and competence. Nothing creates regret like realizing you underestimated someone who kept building. Quiet consistency at work, sharpening a skill without talking about it, becoming harder to replace, not louder to notice. You don't need them to know what you're building. The results will introduce themselves later, or not at all, and that's the point. Third, your emotional regulation. This is the upgrade most people skip. You stop venting, you stop narrating your healing, you stop explaining how unbothered you are. Instead, you become predictably calm. No emotional spikes, no dramatic reactions, no visible hunger for reassurance. This is where people begin to feel something unsettling. They expect collapse, they expect chaos, they expect you to orbit their decision, and instead they sense stability. Silence plus stability is disorienting, because it forces a realization they didn't plan for. They didn't fall apart without me. That sentence creates more regret than any speech ever could. Understand this clearly. You're not upgrading your life to trigger envy. Envy fades, comparison shifts, validation expires. But self-mastery compounds. Stoics warned against living for external reactions because it makes your peace conditional. And conditional peace is not peace. It's anxiety with good posture. So here's the discipline of this move. No announcement of growth, no vague quotes, no indirect signals. Let your absence stay silent. Let your life get heavier with substance. And when, not if, someone from your past looks back and realizes they misjudged you, the regret will not come from what they see online. It will come from what they can no longer reach. Because the most painful realization is not, they're doing well. It's this: they became someone I no longer have access to. That is the power of upgrading quietly. And remember this line: when growth is silent, regret is loud. 3. Silent move. 3. Stop explaining yourself. One of the fastest ways to lose power is this simple habit: over-explaining yourself to people who have already decided how they see you. When someone distances themselves, misunderstands you, or walks away, the instinct to explain feels noble. You think you're being mature, you think you're being fair, but most of the time explaining is not clarity. It's seeking permission to be accepted. Stoicism draws a hard line here. You are responsible for your actions. You are not responsible for how people interpret them. The moment someone stops choosing you, your explanations lose their audience. Think about this carefully. If they truly wanted to understand you, they would have asked. Calmly, directly, with openness. Silence from their side is already an answer, and yet many people respond to that silence by talking more. They clarify their intentions. They justify their reactions. They defend their character. What they don't realize is that every explanation quietly communicates one thing: your opinion of me has power over my peace. Stoics saw this as a form of self-betrayal, not because explanations are always wrong, but because timing and audience matter. Explaining yourself to someone who has withdrawn respect is like pleading your case in a courtroom that's already empty. No verdict will change. Here's the paradox. When you stop explaining yourself, people don't suddenly understand you more, but they begin to reevaluate you. Why? Because silence disrupts expectation. They expect defense. They expect justification. They expect emotional exposure. And when it doesn't come, something unsettles them. Your silence forces them to sit with uncertainty. And uncertainty is uncomfortable. It raises questions they weren't ready to answer. Did I misjudge them? Why aren't they trying to fix this? Why don't they seem affected? Explanations close loops. Silence leaves them open, and open loops echo. Stoicism teaches that dignity lives in consistency, not narration. You don't need to explain that you have boundaries. You enforce them. You don't need to explain that you've changed. You behave differently. You don't need to explain your values. You live them. This doesn't mean you become cold or dismissive. It means you become selective. You explain to those who earn access. You clarify to those who act in good faith, but to those who walk away, judge from a distance, or reduce you to a version that suits them. You let silence do the filtering. And here's the crucial Stoic distinction. You are not staying silent to punish them. You are staying silent to protect alignment. Alignment between who you are and how you act. Explaining often pulls you out of alignment because it's driven by fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being seen as wrong. Fear of losing connection. But connection without respect is just emotional debt. So here is the practice for this move. When you feel the urge to explain, pause and ask yourself one question. Is this explanation coming from clarity or from anxiety? If it's clarity, speak briefly and once. If it's anxiety, stay silent. Then let your actions speak over time. Because people don't regret losing someone who kept explaining themselves. They regret losing someone who stood still, stayed composed, and didn't chase their approval. Remember this line. When you stop explaining, you stop negotiating your worth. And that's when regret begins to form. Not loudly, not immediately, but deeply. 4. Silent move. 4. Become emotionally unreachable. There is a moment that quietly shifts everything. It's when someone realizes they can no longer reach you emotionally. Not because you blocked them, not because you were cruel, but because their words no longer trigger you. Stoicism teaches that the highest form of power is self-command, and nothing reveals self-command faster than emotional inaccessibility. Most people confuse this with being cold. It's not. Being cold is reactive. Being emotionally unreachable is regulated. When someone leaves your life, they often expect something from you. Sadness, anger, longing, or a delayed reaction they can still influence. They want proof that they mattered enough to shake you. And when they don't get it, discomfort sets in. Becoming emotionally unreachable doesn't mean suppressing feelings. It means not outsourcing your inner state to someone who has already exited your life. Stoics understood this through a simple principle. You control your judgments. You don't control external events. So instead of asking, why did this affect me so much? You begin asking, what meaning did I attach to this? This shift is everything. When you stop reacting immediately, you create space. And in that space, clarity forms. You don't answer texts impulsively. You don't defend yourself in real time. You don't let curiosity pull you back into old emotional patterns. Your tone becomes neutral. Your timing becomes intentional. Your presence becomes unreadable, and unreadable energy is unsettling. Why? Because people are used to predictable reactions. They rely on them. When those reactions disappear, they lose their emotional reference point. They can't tell if you're hurt. They can't tell if you care. They can't tell if they still matter. And that uncertainty lingers. Stoicism never taught indifference to life. It taught independence from emotional manipulation, even subtle, unconscious manipulation. Becoming emotionally unreachable breaks the loop. No reaction means no leverage. No leverage means no control. This doesn't require silence in every situation. It requires measured response. You respond when it aligns with your values. You disengage when it drains your peace. The key is this: you stop letting their behavior dictate your emotional weather. And when that happens, something profound occurs. You feel steadier, less pulled, less fragmented, and others feel it too. They sense that the version of you they once knew, the one they could read, predict, and emotionally access, is no longer available. That realization doesn't hit immediately. It arrives later, in quiet moments, when distraction fades. And that's where regret grows. Not because you ignored them, but because they realize they lost access to someone who is now centered, calm, and self-directed. So here's the practice for this move. The next time you feel emotionally triggered, don't react. Pause. Breathe. Label the emotion privately. Then choose a response, or no response, that protects your long-term dignity, not your short-term relief. Tell yourself this: I don't need to react to prove I feel. Because the truth is simple. People don't regret losing someone who was emotionally reactive. They regret losing someone who became emotionally sovereign. And remember this line: when your emotions are no longer reachable, your value is felt. 5. Silent move. 5. Raise your standards, not your voice. When people feel they're losing control over you, they often test one thing: your tolerance. They come back casually. They cross boundaries softly. They speak as if nothing really changed. And this is where many people break their own frame. They argue, they explain, they raise their voice to be taken seriously. Stoicism teaches the opposite approach. Never raise your voice. Raise your standards. Your standards are not what you say you deserve. They are what you consistently allow. When someone loses you, the real shift doesn't happen when you demand respect. It happens when access becomes conditional. No long speeches, no confrontations fueled by emotion. Just a calm recalibration of what is acceptable. Here's the stoic truth most people avoid. If someone could walk away once, they can do it again, unless you change the terms. Raising your standards means you no longer negotiate basic respect. You stop entertaining half-effort conversations. You stop responding to vague messages. You stop re-entering dynamics that once drained you. And you do this without hostility. Because hostility still gives energy. Standards remove it. Think about how powerful this is. You don't accuse them. You don't explain why things are different. You simply behave differently. Your availability shrinks. Your tolerance narrows. Your boundaries become visible through action. This is deeply unsettling to people who are used to easy access. Why? Because standards force self-reflection. When someone meets a boundary calmly enforced, they can't argue with it. They can only notice that the old version of you is gone. Stoics believed that self-respect must be demonstrated, not declared. You don't say, "I won't tolerate this anymore." You simply stop tolerating it, and that silence speaks clearly. Raising your standards also changes something internal. You stop reacting from fear of loss. You start acting from alignment. You choose peace over familiarity, clarity over comfort, integrity over validation. And here's the critical part. You raise your standards even if no one is watching. Not to punish someone, not to trigger regret, but because living below your standards creates resentment, and resentment always leaks into behavior. Stoicism warns against this internal fracture. When your actions don't match your values, you feel unstable. When they align, you become grounded, and grounded people are difficult to replace. Eventually, people notice. They sense that conversations don't flow the same way, that shortcuts no longer work, that casual access has been revoked. That's when the realization forms. I can't treat them the way I used to. And sometimes, the regret follows right behind it. Not because you said anything, but because your standards silently redefined your worth. So here's the practice for this move. Identify one behavior you previously tolerated out of fear. Fear of losing connection, fear of conflict, fear of being alone. Then remove your participation. No announcement, no justification, just consistency. Tell yourself this: I don't need to demand respect, I demonstrate it. Because people don't regret losing someone who argued for better treatment. They regret losing someone who became unavailable to disrespect. Remember this line. Standards don't shout. They filter. 6. Silent move. Live well without trying to be seen. There is a subtle trap many people fall into after being lost. They start living for visibility. They want to be noticed doing well. They want proof that the other person sees the upgrade. They want acknowledgement, even if it comes disguised as curiosity. Stoicism warns against this impulse, because the moment you live to be seen, your peace becomes conditional. Living well without trying to be seen is one of the hardest silent moves, and one of the most powerful. It requires you to detach not just from the person who left, but from the need for their awareness. Here's the truth most people don't want to admit. If you need them to see you thriving, they still occupy space in your mind. That's not freedom, that's delayed attachment. Stoic living is not about appearing strong. It's about being strong, even when no one is watching. When you stop curating your life for an audience, something changes. Your decisions become cleaner, your routines become more honest, your growth becomes internal instead of performative. You choose the gym because discipline grounds you, not because progress photos might circulate. You focus on your craft because competence builds self-trust, not because success might be noticed later. You build relationships that nourish you, not ones that might trigger envy elsewhere. This quiet recalibration is felt, even if it's never seen. Why? Because people sense when your life is no longer oriented toward them. They feel it in the absence of signals. No indirect messages, no symbolic posts, no bait for reaction. That silence creates a strange realization. They moved on without trying to show me, and that hits deeper than any visible success. Stoics believed that attachment to recognition corrupts virtue. When your happiness depends on being observed, you give strangers power over your internal state. But when you live well privately, your confidence stabilizes. You don't scan for reactions. You don't wonder who noticed. You don't feel the need to explain how far you've come. And this is where regret quietly forms. Not because they see you winning, but because they realize you are no longer performing for them. They sense that your life no longer revolves around proving anything, that they are not the reference point anymore. And losing that role, being irrelevant to someone who once cared, is far more painful than jealousy. Living well without being seen also protects you. It keeps your growth pure. It prevents relapse into old patterns. It ensures that your motivation is sustainable. Stoicism values internal reward over external applause for this exact reason. Applause fades, character remains. So here's the practice for this move. For the next 30 days, build something meaningful without telling anyone about it. No announcements, no hints, no explanations. Let your progress belong to you. And when the urge arises to be seen, remind yourself, My life doesn't need witnesses to be valid. Because people don't regret losing someone who tried to show them they were thriving. They regret losing someone who thrived quietly and never looked back to check who noticed. Remember this line: when you stop performing, you start becoming unforgettable. 7. Silent move number 7. Never reopen a closed door. This is where most people fail. Not at the beginning, not when they're hurt, but later, when the door cracks open again. A message, a reaction, a casual, "How have you been?" And suddenly, everything you rebuilt is tested. Stoicism is uncompromising on this point. A door that closed for your dignity should not be reopened for nostalgia. When someone loses you, time often softens their memory. They forget the disrespect, they remember the comfort, and they come back, not to restore what was broken, but to see if access is still available. This is the most dangerous moment, because the invitation feels harmless, even flattering. Your ego whispers, "They miss me." Your emotions whisper, "Maybe it's different now." But Stoicism asks a colder question. What has actually changed? Not what they say, not what they feel today. What has changed in behavior, effort, and accountability? If the answer is unclear, reopening the door is not compassion. It's self-abandonment. Here is the brutal truth most people avoid. People don't regret losing you when you return easily. They regret it when they realize the version they lost is no longer accessible. Never reopening a closed door doesn't mean holding grudges. It means honoring the cost it took to walk away. You suffered to detach. You struggled to stabilize. You rebuilt discipline, standards, and emotional control. Reopening the door casually tells your nervous system one thing: all of that was negotiable. Stoics believe that character is formed at moments of temptation, not comfort. Anyone can walk away when angry. Very few stay away when nostalgia knocks. And this is where regret becomes permanent. When someone realizes that, they don't get a second chance. They don't get closure. They don't get to check if you're still there. They are forced to confront the finality of their decision. Finality is heavy. It removes hope. And hope is often what keeps people comfortable with loss. This doesn't require confrontation. You don't explain why you won't reopen the door. You don't announce boundaries. You simply don't step back into rooms that once diminished you. Silence, again, does the work. And silence here is not cold. It's resolved. Stoicism never taught people to be cruel. It taught them to be consistent. Consistency is what makes loss real. If you waver, the loss becomes theoretical. If you stand firm, it becomes irreversible, and only irreversible loss produces true regret. So here is the final practice of this move. If someone from your past reaches out, pause before responding or not responding. Ask yourself one question: does reopening this door move me closer to the person I'm becoming, or back toward the person I escaped? If the answer is backward, the door stays closed. No explanation, no guilt, no second guessing. Tell yourself this: I don't reopen doors I had to bleed to close. Because people don't regret losing someone who came back when it felt comfortable. They regret losing someone who closed the door quietly and never unlocked it again. And that regret doesn't fade. It settles. What you've just learned is not about revenge. It's not about making anyone suffer. It's about something far more powerful. Self-command. Let's bring it together. You disappear without drama. You upgrade your life quietly. You stop explaining yourself. You become emotionally unreachable. You raise your standards instead of your voice. You live well without trying to be seen. And finally, you never reopen doors that cost you your dignity to close. These are not tactics. They are filters. They filter out people who only valued you when access was easy. They filter out versions of yourself that needed validation to feel whole. Stoicism was never meant to make life easier. It was meant to make you stronger. If someone regrets losing you one day, that regret will not come from your words. It will come from realizing they lost access to someone who mastered themselves. And whether they regret it or not, you will no longer need their recognition. That is freedom. If this message resonated, take one moment right now. Comment below. My silence is my power. Not for me, for yourself. Like the video, share it with someone who needs strength without noise, and subscribe if you're committed to becoming unshakable, quietly, consistently, and with dignity. Remember this final truth. You don't chase, you don't explain, you become. And that changes everything.